more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Command Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Monday, the 26th day of August 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable, peaceful, restful weekend and that you're all raring to go today. For those of you who may have lost loved ones over the past few days, past few weeks, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you and to your families, and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times. In particular, we want to extend condolences to the family of the late John McLean Sr., who unfortunately passed away on Saturday. Very renowned politician, one of the youngest elected members of our Legislative Assembly, and served the District of East End, also served in our Executive Council as well. So our condolences go out to him and his family as well. For those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, if you're a cyclist, operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to be extremely cautious and also remember that the life you save may be your own. Speaking of birthdays, I haven't seen anything in the papers relating to it yet, but one of our national heroes, former Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, former Clerk of the Legislative Assembly, Honorable Sybil McLaughlin, celebrated a birthday on the weekend as well, on Saturday, I believe. One of our national heroes. We don't normally ascribe holidays or anything to recognize our national heroes here in the Cayman Islands, and something that we may want to give some thought to in terms of recognition of our national heroes as well. Whether we celebrate their birthdays, we certainly want to celebrate them while they're still alive, so that they know that we appreciate what they have done, and for them to be able to enjoy that as well. So we'll talk more about that during the course of the week as well. We will talk more about that. One of our listeners has written to us, and there's an article that should show up in the Cayman Times today as well, in relation to giving kudos to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service for their day of action on Thursday, the 15th of August, where they were, out there making traffic checks and everything. And I will try to share that with you as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. Again, this morning, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at fortherecord. That is one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. Or you can WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. Of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We're going to have in the studio with us this morning the Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, and her team. We will be talking about the new curriculum being introduced into the schools in the Cayman Islands. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have our guest in the studio, so don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. As you know, education, so important to us, so important to the young people of the Cayman Islands, because they will determine the future of these islands as well. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
The Cayman Islands has a rich history of recognizing sports and recreation as an important element in the social and economic development of these islands. In 1935, Governor Cornwall organized the first regatta for catboats and schooners, both as a social event and as a means of encouraging tourists visiting Jamaica to come to the Cayman Islands. By 1947, it was recommended that every school should have a sports day, followed by the first inter-school sports day held in 1949. By 1976, the Cayman sailing team was in the Olympics, followed by the island's participation in CARIFTA, Central America and Caribbean Games, Pan American Games, the Commonwealth Games, Island Games, World Championships in athletics, and World Cup qualifiers in football.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
The dreams of tomorrow stem from the seeds we sow today, whether purchasing your first parcel of land or planning for your future home. These dreams are more than possible with Cayman National by your side. Now offering 100% financing on land loans and home mortgages with only 5% down, up to 35 years or to retirement age. No commitment fee. For more information, contact a personal banker today at personal.banking@caymannational.com or call 949-4655. Plant the seeds of your future today with Cayman National. Terms and conditions apply, and the offer ends September 30th. Cayman National is pleased to advise that they will have a lending officer at their Cayman Bay locations Mondays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
I'm going to Vamp Motors to test drive the new 7-seater Rush.
They have some really sweet deals going on now, not true?
Yep, on SUVs. And they sweeten the deal by giving you a warm oven-baked cookie with each test drive.
Better test drive more than one, just to be sure.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this month at Vamp Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. That's every SUV in stock on sale for thousands off or cash back. Sweeten the deal only at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Work will soon launch Jobs Cayman, an online system that allows registered users to access job postings created by registered employers. This system offers a better approach to facilitate Caymanians in finding employment and allows employers to search for qualified and skilled Caymanians who are seeking employment. For more information on the registration process and what you need to register, visit www.worc.ky. Work, leading the pursuit of full Caymanian employment and economic prosperity for all through service excellence.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. This morning we will be talking about education, and before I introduce my guests, I want to remind our listeners out there, those of you again operating any type of vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, that the schools of the Cayman Islands will be open between today and tomorrow as well. Today, as far as government operated schools are concerned, new students will be starting school today. Tomorrow, all students will be in school. Remember those extremely precious cargoes that are buses, that our parents in their private vehicles will be taking them to school. So all of you crazy drivers out there, again, we want to remind you, not only may the life that you save may be your own, but you also want to ensure that we protect our youngsters on the roads as well. You never know who's the occupant of any car, any vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, and we urge you to be extremely cautious as well. It is my pleasure to introduce in the studio with us this morning the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Minister for Education. We also have in the studio with us the Chief Officer and the Minister of Education, Ms. Sitonia Cacho. Also with us, Ms. Lynette Monteith. She is the Acting Deputy Chief Officer. And Ms. Tammy Hopkins, who is the Acting Director of the Department of Educational Services. Ladies, Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. And as you know, if you don't know it by now, I certainly do. It is customary for the Honorable Minister to start any proceedings that she is attending, that she's chairing, with a prayer, and we're going to ask the Honorable Minister again to open this show this morning with her prayer. Minister.
Thank you, Osi. Let's pray. Father God, we just want to express our profound gratitude for this opportunity to be here and for the record of OC in the wider Cayman Islands. We pray that you would so guide our deliberations. We pray that you would infuse it with a liberal application of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as we try to navigate these educational waters here in Cayman. We pray that our modus operandi would be one of fairness, equity, and parity with access throughout a level playing field. We pray for all of our teachers, Lord, the faculty, the parents, the students, all the well-wishers, and those who are friends of our education institution, that this will be another successful year, and at the end of it all, we would have produced more educated, excellent towards world-class education in this jurisdiction as we build this nation we call home with thanksgiving and anticipation for eternal blessings. We ask this in another name, by the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Wanted to let our audience know we're going to have the phone lines closed for a while because we want to get into the main part of the topic that we're talking about. We will open the phone lines because we know that you will have questions, you may have concerns, you may want points clarified, and our panel here will be prepared to do that. So we will alert you as to when the phone lines will be open. Minister, I'm going to pass the mic over to you now.
Thanks, Osi. I thought that it was the right time to come. All and sundry would know that I'm not really a advertising or PR person. I like to do my work and let the work speak for itself. But I thought that education was much too important for it to become a political football, and there were a few outflyers, and we thought that, truth has that wonderful capacity of servicing to the top, and there was perhaps no better show to announce the implementation of the British curriculum than on the People's Radio Station and on this talk show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that confidence, Minister.
And so I brought my team along with me, Cacho and Monteith and Tammy, and you see it's woman go run things because we're still waiting for that man to come and help us in education, and that's on the light side. But also when the Premier asked me just after the formation of the coalition government if I would take education as my responsibility, obviously I was happy to accommodate his wishes because he wanted to put the government together, and I felt that whatever responsibility he gave me, because I believe that with God all things are possible, we would do it. I never had an idea it was going to be such a colossal challenge, even though I was a teacher before and I served for 20-something plus years in government. Unless you actually have the topic and have that up close and intimate relationship with it, you don't know what it is and the challenges that are out there. But one thing I did have, and that was a love for my country and a love for teaching. So as we traverse the landscape of education from various schools, primary to tertiary, I noted quite conspicuously from the go-get that the morale of teachers were sub-zero. And I thought that if we're going to have our teachers in our classrooms, we need to take care of our teachers. So I'm sure you would recall being as up-to-date as you are with the news, and I listen to your show quite frequently. When we had the very first address at the education conference at the Mayor Miller Hall in 2017, I did go down a limb, and yourself having been cabinet secretary, you understand how the whole machinery works, especially when it comes to financing. But I thought it was important enough that I put it out there, and I don't think anybody heard anything else my whole speech, except that during this tenure I was given the commitment that no teacher in the government system would be making less than $5,000 a month. So I set the parameters. I had a 4-year span for the government to come on board to assist, and I'm so happy that they did immediately. And I also gave the shall I call it, the egotistical elasticity for somebody else to take the credit by saying not less than 5,000. So I opened the door that if opposition or government want to put it more, I was more than happy with that. But I thought that we ought to have about 5,000 after I did the calculations. And so we did it in 2 tranches. We did the first one last September, and the second one will come on board next September. We were lucky enough that the Premier, at the same time as we got together and discussed it, gave all civil servants a COLA, so the teachers got an extra little bump at that time. But I can tell you that it's a matter of mindset, because even at that stage there was very strong representation and lobby from within ministry and downward the administrative branch that, should we give the 5% first or after the raise? And obviously, with the basic math that I did get from school, I said, no, we're going to give the 5% first and then we'll give the raise. Sorry, we're going to give the raise first and then the 5% afterwards, so that they won't feel that they were somehow cheated as unintended consequences. Yes. So the government happily took that on board, and that's the formula that we used. Of course, you'd find that there are assistant teachers who are below, and I felt that once I set the bar, it's left to POCs and to the administrative arm of government, which under Section 55 of the Constitution, I have no direct say in, fortunately or unfortunately, to make sure that the domino effect go downward and upwards, so that we'll keep the morale up there. And I have confidence that that will happen, subject to the fiscal responsibility that we have to also undertake. Okay.
Let's talk about the conference on Monday and the importance of that, especially in welcoming new teachers into the system as well. Ms. Cacho?
Okay. On Monday, we welcomed back, I think the John Gray Hall actually fit about just over 800 persons that day. So we had a very full house, where every year we're happy to welcome back especially our newly qualified teachers, Caymanian teachers who have gone away and done 4 and sometimes 5 years of university to come back to give to their country through the teaching profession. We also welcome back our educators who've been with us for a number of years, who've come back to the profession that they love, as well as new teachers from different countries who've chosen to join us here in the Cayman Islands. That was quite exciting. Minister, I think every year gives a speech that has everybody on the edge of their seats. They wait to hear her speak, and I'd love for her to recap some of the things that she said on Monday.
Certainly, and I had to. We had to abbreviate our show here to carry you live, but I was more than happy to listen. And as a matter of fact, I think I stayed right here in the studio and listened to it as well.
Thank you. The fact that you're still smiling, I think I must have had a piece of more. I was going to take a completely different approach to my speeches. I pray and I fast before every major speech, and I basically ask the Lord to utilize me as a conduit for Him, and that people don't see me or don't actually hear me, because it's not about Juliana. It's about a betterment of education in the Cayman Islands. And people may find this hard to believe, but even when I speak, in my own mind, I'm saying, where did that come from? Because I'll just find myself recollecting facts or dates or things that I know I read, but I didn't really commit to memory. And so I have no fear in saying to God be the glory for great things He is going to continue doing in education. Because without the fear of the Lord, we have no boundaries. And that's what I try to do. I not only share my faith, and I say share, I don't mandate it, but I also give them a lively optimism for hope and an audacity to have hope, and a structure that, as a public servant, as you rightly know, we pick up a lot of licks, to put it in Cayman colloquial terms. But at the end of the day, civil servants and public service provide a service that is equal to none, and I have no fear of contradiction in saying that. And so what I tried to do was to not only give promises each year, but at the beginning of my speech I tried to say, promises given, promises kept, because the first year it was the feedback I was getting was like, yeah, I have a politician say that, but let's see what she does. Well, when they collected a check, that was the first one that was kept. And then I said to them, look, I've gone around the classrooms and I don't see textbooks, at least to my satisfaction. So I went to my colleagues in Cabinet under the leadership of the Honourable Premier Alden McLaughlin, and they gave me the necessary money to invest, not just in textbooks, but quality world-class textbooks that go hand in hand, are indeed complementary to the British curriculum, but also the IT computers. Every single teacher in our public school would now have a laptop. And I think that is fantastic, because we were at a stage when I took over where a lot of photocopying was being done, OC. The quality of it was less than desirable. Parents had no clue what was going on as far as the incremental development of the students' learning, or to be able to assist them at home. And I know that because even though I was in Grand Cayman, people in Cayman would call me and ask for help, like with science and math and stuff. And so we have to realize that Cayman was a fast evolving country. So not all of our parents had that opportunity to go through the true spectrum of education, even though they went to the School of Hard Knocks, and they have quite a lot more common sense, it seems, than we have in this day. But I just thought that, if we're going to be taught with finances, we're going to be taught with tourism, then unless we have the education pillar of our community right, then truly people have a legitimate expectation to ask who and what are we developing for. And I want to be able to answer that question to say that we are developing for our Caymanian people. Okay. Full stop.
We still have about 3 minutes before we go to break. I believe that gives us enough time to get Miss Tama Hopkins into the conversation. And in listening again on last week, Monday, you gave a very inspiring presentation and speech at the conference as well. Tell us and our listening and viewing audience about that as well, Ms. Hopkins.
Well, OC, thank you. I take it from the standpoint, I'm a parent, I'm a teacher at heart, and what do teachers want to hear at the beginning of the year? We have done a lot of work leading up to this point in August with our new curriculum, and I wanted to share that message across all the airwaves that we have done a lot of work. We need the parents on board, but with their partnership, we can do this. I have every confidence that our teachers are there. They're poised to go with the professional development that we have provided, with the resources that we have ordered, and we're there to support this journey to make it a success and to have a world-class education.
Okay, and we don't want to go to the break before and not have a word from Ms. Lynette Monteith as well. Ms. Monteith, as a former teacher yourself, you're now the acting Deputy Chief Officer. Tell us your feelings about the conference last week.
So Ms. Tammy spoke about motivating our educators, and I second that. I think there's no better way to start a year than to reflect a little bit on what has happened before. We started preparing for this year from the last term, and also looking ahead at the new year, new possibilities, new opportunities. And Minister will probably tell you a little bit later, she's done a few impromptu visits to schools, and the energy that was in the room on Monday has continued into the schools. When you visit, you see teachers preparing, you see teachers speaking about the year ahead with excitement. You hear persons speaking about what they have. I think, Minister, you got a music teacher who told her he had everything he needed and then some. So that speaks to educators believing that the government is basically putting their money where their mouth is. Yeah. So we are looking at what is needed, listening to them as well, and making those provisions.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. A very exciting school year looming ahead of us, starting today with the new students, and tomorrow all students will be in government-operated schools as well. You will hear more about that when we return from our 8 o'clock news, so please stay tuned. Don't change that dial. The conversation will continue with the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Miss Tonya Cacho, Miss Lynette Monteith, and Miss Tama Hopkins. Please stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore. Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Former legislative representative for the District of East End, John Bonwell McLean, JP, OBE, passes away. During his tenure between 1976 and 2000, as a representative and as the member of the Executive Council, he was, quote, instrumental in many aspects of the development of Cayman, including agriculture, water authority, roads networks, and the infrastructure in general. In a written statement, the official opposition says the people of East End witnessed and benefited from a number of infrastructural projects within the district under his leadership. He passed away on Saturday. 2 pieces of legislation to clarify Cayman's regime for trusts are now in force as the Private Trust Companies Amendment No. 2 Regulations 2019 and Trust Transparency Regulations 219 are gazetted this month. The Private Trust Companies regulations provide clearer definitions and terms given to people involved in the administration of trusts, while the Trust Transparency Regulations list the information that a person must maintain and keep updated when serving as a trustee for a trust constituted under Cayman law. Together, these regulations support the recent legislative measures to enhance transparency measures, such as disclosure requirements for the trust sector. The gazettal of this legislation supports the legal framework in place to address the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force's March 2019 report on Cayman's anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism regime. The report outlines certain recommended actions to be taken by Cayman to strengthen AML-CFT regimes. The jurisdiction is under a 1-year observation period by the Financial Action Task Force, which ends in February next year, and which is expected to correct strategic AML-CFT deficiencies. The FATF will review the progress made by Cayman in June next year to determine if positive and, quote, tangible progress has been made towards addressing the deficiencies identified. And a new Miss Teen is crowned. Radio Cayman's Keela Ebanks reports from the Lions Center.
At a packed Lions Center Saturday night, contestant number 1, Miss Ashley Gooden, takes home the crown and title of Miss Teen Cayman Islands 2019. The evening also saw first runner-up contestant number 3, Miss Monina Thompson, and second runner-up Miss Jada Bawden. Miss Ashley Gooden was also awarded Best in Swimwear, the Ileana de la Cruz Community Award, as well as the People's Choice Award. First runner-up Monina Thompson won Best Smile and Miss Personality. Second runner-up Miss Jada Bawden won Miss Most Improved. Miss Amelia Lamai won Miss Talent, and Miss Sade Parchment won Miss Academic, Miss Photogenic, and Best in Gown. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Keely Ebanks.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Eileen McHugh. Donald Trump has tried to calm the turmoil on international markets over the US trade war with China, saying Beijing had requested a resumption of talks. Speaking at the G7 summit in France, Mr. Trump said it was a positive development for the whole world. Stock markets in Asia opened the week sharply down, and the Chinese currency has reached its lowest level against the dollar in more than a decade. World leaders at the G7 meeting in Biarritz are discussing climate change and biodiversity amid expectations that they could announce measures to tackle forest fires in the Amazon. The summit's host, the French President Emmanuel Macron, said on Sunday they were close to agreeing technical and financial help. Israeli airstrikes are reported to have hit a Palestinian militia in Lebanon with close links to the Iranian-backed Hezbollah movement. Local reports spoke of several drone strikes in the eastern Bekaa Valley targeting the Palestinian faction, the PFLP. There are no reports of casualties. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo has announced that the country's new capital will be built in the province of East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo. Much of the current capital, Jakarta, is suffering from subsidence. The authorities in Pakistan say 5 more cases of polio have been detected, taking the number this year to 58. That's nearly 5 times last year's total. The Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has overseen the departure of the country's first export shipment of crude oil from the port of Mombasa. Over 200,000 barrels are on their way to Malaysia in a $12 million deal with a Chinese-owned firm. And a popular beach in the city of Barcelona in Spain remains closed as explosive experts work out how to safely detonate a bomb found in the sea. The device is thought to date back to the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Steve Higgins Productions, in association with the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens,
the Cayman Islands Cancer Society,
and the De Silva Family Trust presents
Music of the Heart. A fantastic evening of excellent music presented by Delia Winter,
April Marr,
and Steve Higgins at the Marriott Beach Resort, 7 Mile Beach, Sunday, September 1st, 2019 at 6 p.m. Sponsored by
Harney's,
Appleby,
SMP,
NCB Capital Markets,
Jamaica Tourist Board,
and Radio Cayman. Tickets $25.
Available at Funky Tanks,
Super Stitch, or any member of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, or call
925-9134.
That's 925-9134. Proceeds will go towards the Cayman Islands Cancer Society and the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. That's Steve Higgins and Friends in Music of the Heart. Sunday, September 1st at the Marriott Beach Resort. Don't miss it!
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Super Stitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special Nolan curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Super Stitch. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 85 degrees. Relative humidity is 85%. Barometric pressure 29.94 inches and rising. The wind is southeast at 5 knots. Overnight low temperature was 81 degrees. Synopsis indicate light winds and slight seas expected over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours due to a slack pressure gradient over the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers around the Cayman area moving towards the northwest. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is issuing advisories on Tropical Storm Dorian, which at 7 a.m. was located near 12.0 north, 57.0 west. It's about 205 miles east-southeast of Barbados with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. Tropical Storm Dorian is moving towards the west at 14 miles per hour. If you need further information on this system, please check out the National Hurricane Center website at www.nhc.noaa.gov. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the low 90s. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. The forecast for tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will fall to the upper 70s tonight. Your winds will be light and variable, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. Low tide will be this afternoon at 12:29. High tide tonight at 7:18. The sun will set this evening at 6:44 and will rise tomorrow morning at 10 minutes past 6. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Super Stitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Super Stitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special Nolan curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Super Stitch. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadena Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
It was great catching up with you. I've got to go pick up my prescription at Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor.
But you live in West Bay. Do you know you can go to Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square, their second location?
Really?
Yes, and if you go to healthcarepharmacy.ky, you can refill and transfer your prescriptions online and collect at either location.
That's so convenient. Thanks. I'm off to Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square.
Healthcare Pharmacy Grand Harbor, Healthcare Pharmacy Governor Square, and always healthcarepharmacy.ky.
Always ensure that food preparation utensils are washed with a strong detergent and rinsed in hot water in the event that they have made contact with flood water. Boil silverware for 10 minutes and immerse glass, porcelain, china, and plastic items in a solution of hot water and 10% chlorine bleach before use. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look what's happening on our roads. Looking towards the east on Shamrock Road and the Lidford Pearson Highway. Traffic is steady on Shamrock Road. On the Lidford Pearson Highway closer to town, busy traffic. And traffic slow moving on Cool Road as well as on Huldah Avenue. Thomas Russell Way, traffic is flowing moderately. No issues coming from the West Bay 4-way stop, as traffic is light to moderate. Light traffic on Owen Warps Drive and on Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic flowing moderately. And on North Sound Road, moderate flow of traffic. But that's the very latest on your traffic. If you see any accidents or incidents on Cayman's Road, give us a call here at Radio Cayman, 949-6990. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12, another traffic report.
Monday's just got a whole lot better thanks to Subway's Monday Madness. Each Monday in August, buy any 6-inch or foot-long sub and a large fountain drink, get another sub of equal or lesser value for free. Mondays never tasted so good with Subway's 2-for-1 Monday Madness. Buy a 6-inch or foot-long sub and a large fountain drink and get another sub of equal or lesser value for free. Every Monday in August, Monday Madness is available at all Subway locations except the airport. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning-fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now, you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
Radio Cayman's premier health show,
For the Health of It with Tara Bush,
is brought to you on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. Proudly brought to you by the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association. For more information on how you can become a member or the benefits of the CICSA, please visit www.cicsa.ky. For your convenience, the CICSA offices are open on Mondays from 9 to 12 p.m. and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Work will soon launch Jobs Cayman, an online system that allows registered users to access job postings created by registered employers. This system offers a better approach to facilitate Caymanians in finding employment and allows employers to search for qualified and skilled Caymanians who are seeking employment. For more information on the registration process and what you need to register, visit www.worc.ky. Work, leading the pursuit of full Caymanian employment and economic prosperity for all through service excellence.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Just want to remind you that our phone lines are closed for now, but we will open the phone lines in the studio with me this morning. It is my pleasure to have the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Minister of Education, Youth, Sports, Agriculture and Lands, along with her team, Ms. Sitonia Cacho, who's the Chief Officer in the Ministry of Education, Ms. Lynette Monteith, who's the Acting Deputy Chief Officer, and also with us we have Ms. Tammy Hopkins, who's the Acting Director of the Department of Educational Services here in the Cayman Islands as well. The main thrust of our discussion this morning will be the new national curriculum for the Cayman Islands, but the conversation will not be necessarily be limited to that. We'll be talking about other things as well. And one of the things we want to do immediately is to clarify the first day of school today and tomorrow and what it is in respect of. And we're going to ask Ms. Tammy Hopkins to clarify that situation for everyone who's listening, and those who aren't listening, those who are listening, pass it on to your friends and family as well. Ms. Hopkins.
Okay, thank you. So right now going on in all of our primary schools across the Cayman Islands, including Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, we have orientation for our reception children and any new transfer children into the school. Tomorrow, all primary schools will open at 8 o'clock. Then for our high schools, we have John Gray High School having their orientation for years 7 and 11 students tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Clifton Hunter today is having their orientation for years 7 and 11. That started at 8 o'clock also. Tomorrow at Clifton Hunter, we have years 7, 10, and 11 students going in at 8. And then on the 28th, all of our high schools in Grand Cayman, both John Gray and Clifton Hunter, will open for the new school year for their students. Lehman Scott will open tomorrow for their new students in Cayman Brac. SciFag, we have the Cayman Islands Education Center. We have the Year 12s picking up their external exam results this morning from 8 until 2:30 this afternoon. Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow we have our Year 11s then with their release of exams. So I encourage all parents to go out and, get to know the school, meet the teacher. Sure. This is a good start to the new school year.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ms. Hopkins. And is there anywhere that on websites or anything that information can be gleaned in terms of the particular dates?
Yeah, the individual school websites as well. It was published in the Compass, but if they need additional information, they can call the Department of Education Services and we can direct them there.
Okay, and that number would
945-1199.
945-1199. So no one has any excuse if they don't show up to school and think, I thought it was next week or something of that nature as well. I want to talk more about the new curriculum, Minister, if you will.
Yeah, sure. Also, the thing that we found in addition to the morale that needed a boost was that there was not a standardized curriculum that seemed to be taught. There was a variety, whether it was Caribbean or British or American. And I thought that since we were overseas territory and that the English curriculum was world class, that you could go any part of the world pretty much with that. But in addition, because for so long we've been told that the Cayman education was not as good as the foreign education, and having studied psychology, I thought I would introduce some adverse psychology into the whole analytical thinking of how we were going to take education forward. And I thought that, if we did the British curriculum and adapted what was needed to be adapted for Cayman, for example, the civics and the social studies or geography, history, whatever, then no longer could people say that their education was better than Cayman, because the assessment would be standardized. So the same examinations that they were taking from the same examination bodies would be what our children would be taken. And I had every confidence then, as I do now, that you give a Caymanian an opportunity with adequate and necessary investment, and we can stand head and shoulders of anyone. We proved that with our maritime history. We proved that with our legal law school here. We proved that with our doctors who went abroad, and we can prove that with education.
Staying on that topic for a minute, decades ago when I finished high school and went to university, in the United States, there was a particular standard that they had set, and of course they weren't familiar with the British system of education. They didn't know about O-levels and all of these things, whereas in the UK, they were familiar with it. In terms of our high school graduates today, how does it compare to years ago in terms of acceptance into overseas universities?
Well, I think there are a couple of what I'd like to term as novus actus interveniens since that time. Since then, we had the 1999 white paper that people now have more access to the British education, which is freer, for some, and it's cheaper for others. So whereas when you and I went to university, people went to America more because of its proximity to here. We find that now we even have Caymanians who are uprooting to go to the UK. I don't quite understand that concept, but it is happening. And so we also have the SATs and ACTs that persons do. And because it's now a global village, we don't have that deficit in information as to what the standardization testing would mean. So I don't anticipate any big problems with that, because we are seeing an increased numbers of our students going to the UK or even to Canada for that reason. But I know when I took my O-levels and I went to St. Leo University, what it did for me was that I didn't even have to take some of the introductory courses because it was of a higher standard. And once I went through that initial 6 weeks in math or English or whatever, obtained, I was able then to go on to other credits because of the acceptance of the high standard of the education.
Okay. Now, in terms of our new teachers, the expectations, as far as the new curriculum is concerned, as well as their acceptance of this new curriculum?
Well, from the very beginning, I'll let some of the team answer, but I just want to preface it by saying this. From the very beginning, it was all hands on deck. So that encapsulated not an up-down management, but an all-inclusive management. So we brought in our principals, our deputy principals, as I'm reliably informed, all of our teachers have now been trained, including the new teachers who've been training all last week. The end of last term, we closed school 3 days earlier so that we could get all of the teachers in training. We've now made 2 trips to the UK so that the teachers could see hand-on, firsthand, what we were preaching theoretically, that it was happening, and not so nice neighbourhoods in the UK who had immigrants of all sorts of languages, and in 2 to 5 years they were able to not only transform the whole attitude of the school, faculty, parents and students, which is that tripartite relationship that we're trying to align in Cayman, but they were able to rise up under the inspection. So what we did here was not just to increase the morale, to give the supplies, but I also got, I think it was an extra $2 million, and I stand to be corrected, for Mr. Peter Carpenter to do more regular inspections, because I didn't want to be said that we were throwing money there and we were not inspecting. The other thing that we did, we took inspections from outside of education ministry and put it under, is it Gloria and Pox?
Yes, POCS.
Under POS, so that it would be wholly independent. We still have a symbiotic relationship and conversation, communication that's ongoing. But when he gives that report, my administrators will go out and there is accountability that is consummated with all of the investment we're putting into education. But I think the icing on all of it, OC, with this new British curriculum is that we have adopted and adapted a not yet attitude. So every teacher has gone into this new school year, no matter what the circumstances are, if they don't have a particular thing. For example, we went to Westbury Primary School and Public Works had not done all of the capital work. And the principal, because she had been one who was on a trip, normally you would hear all the complaints and all this stuff about Public Works, but she said, not yet. And not yet transform into the next day with Public Works coming there. So I think it's going to be a lot of massaging with the attitudes. But I was very excited to see that as we went and did the ad hoc visits to the schools, we have just a couple left to do today, the synergy and the energy that was there. I mean, they were in their classrooms. We went to one of the schools, either Savannah or Bontown, where they were sitting around a computer, 3 of them, looking at the statistics of last year's performance so that they could transform that into this year's teaching. And I've never seen that before. You know, people were like, yeah, my school is doing good, but now there's a level of competitiveness that have been introduced. And I've also preached, yes, we're not a competition, we're a strong coalition. I mean, that translates to our government as well. But I think they've really caught on to that. And you're welcome to come anytime and do a live for the record in any one of our schools. That's how confident I am that it's not going to be a utopia, it's not going to be perfect, but because they understand that if we're going to move to this new governance structure, once we get this British curriculum in place, and this year is just for primary, in October, November, we hope to go back to the UK with our vested parties for secondary. We'll take a year to do the planning again. And God's willing, next August, when we do our next Welcome Back conference for our teachers, I'll be making the announcements and the changes and investment that we're putting into our secondary. And we haven't forgotten tertiary. We're working concurrently with them. I don't know quite where I'm going to find all the money it's going to take to bring UCC up to par, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So you will also see that there's a lot of little tiny things, but I've learned that, you know, the faith the size of a mustard seed or even dying faith is better than no faith. So little things like exercise books, we will be given every single student for this year. It's primary only?
Primary, yes.
In our primary, brand new exercise books. And they're not the regular ones. They have a segment. It's like 2 categories, one for teacher comment and one for the student. So you'll have an opportunity as a parent, as a principal or a deputy on a daily basis to look and see the performance of the student so that you can make that quick change. Because what I found was that it was taking a year, 2 years from diagnosis to be able to adapt or to do the interventions. We've also cleared or decluttered our centralization of our interventionists, and we've put them out to our schools. So the psychologist is on the school campus so that you don't have to wait or you don't have to email or call and don't get an answer on the phone. We've also introduced a second language, and of no surprise, that's going to be Spanish, not Mandarin. To all of our schools. We've also introduced to all of our schools computing as opposed to IT with robotics, and they're excited about that. So rather than just teaching the utilization of a computer, we're now teaching coding and programming because we see that's the next wave of industry in Cayman. In addition, for PE, which is the forgotten entity, of course, that's one of my majors. Right. So I was excited as we were on this week, I think it was Savannah School?
Savannah, yes.
Savannah School. We had brought in PE coaches from the UK who was there with all of our PE coaches here, including Kim and Brat, and they were introducing a new element of dance and having fun and talking about things as facial expressions and rhythm, which for Caribbean people, you don't have to teach much of that. I think we're born with it, the Calypso song. But it's a new, fresh approach to thinking outside the box, but yet attaching accountability to it.
Department of Sports was not doing
Okay,
Yeah.
We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to ask the Chief Officer for some more comments to follow up on what the Honourable Minister had to say as well. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
I'm going to Vamp Motors to test drive the new 7-seater Rush.
They have some really sweet deals going on now, not true?
Yep, on SUVs. And they sweeten the deal by giving you a warm oven-baked cookie with each test drive.
Better test drive more than one, just to be sure.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this month at Vamp Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. That's every SUV in stock on sale for thousands off or cash back. Sweeten the deal only at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have in the studio with us this morning Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Minister for Education and other subjects as well, and her team here. We're talking about the new school curriculum starting in our primary schools. One of our listeners has sent us a WhatsApp wanting us to read this prayer for the new school year and for our teachers as well. And I'm not going to make any apologies to anyone. In our Constitution, we talk about the Cayman Islands being a God-fearing country. So that is established there. For those of you who may be atheists or agnostics, make no apologies, to you in this regard, because this is a part of our culture here in the Cayman Islands. And this prayer says, Father God, as schools reopen today, my heart seeks your guidance, your strength, your patience, your wisdom, and direction over and in the lives of our children, our teachers, our principals, our security officers, and us as parents. Help us to be the best role models for them and to give the very best support each day to our children and teachers. In your holy name, amen. So amen. That's from one of our listeners as well. So we're going to ask the Chief Officer, Ms. Cacho, to give some additional comments based on what the Minister said earlier.
Yes, I want to just focus on a few things, actually.
Sure.
Starting with the fact that the planning for introducing this curriculum started last year in September, October. And it was important that we took the time to make sure we got this right, and it wasn't a rushed process. We had a team led by the Department of Education Services who focused on editing the curriculum, reviewing the curriculum with representatives from the ministry, from the department, from schools, which included principals, teachers, and specialists. And they went through every subject area of the English national curriculum to ensure that it was applicable to the Cayman Islands, and where it wasn't, they made small changes. This included simple things like editing the science curriculum to include aspects of the Cayman Islands, like our coral, our location, etc. And these may seem like small things, but we want our children to understand these Cayman Islands first, then the region, and then international.
Precisely.
And so that was done for every single subject area with all specialists, principals, etc. Professional development on the new curriculum was very important. It wasn't something we wanted to do to people where we give them just a completed document and tell them, get on with it. So a wide range of training for the various subject areas were introduced. And as Minister said earlier, schools were closed 3 days in the last school year so that principals, deputies, and teachers were immersed in this process. We've continued that training in the new school year for new staff coming on board. But it was very important for the current staff to be trained so that anyone new, they could get that help and assistance from them. We didn't want anyone to be dependent on the ministry or dependent on the Department of Education Services for that training and development. So we've worked really hard to ensure that principals and deputy principals have the skills and resources to be able to upskill their own staff as well. And that kind of increases autonomy at the school level. When we went to England to have a tour of schools and look at the English curriculum in action, Minister insisted, and it was a really great idea, that we take principals, deputy principals, and some teachers with us as well, and specialists. Again, we didn't want to just give people something and say, get on with it. We wanted them to have that experience, see it in action, ask the questions, see the resources in use. Even though we started the planning a year ago, we wanted to kind of speed up the process by taking out the guesswork about which resources were most effective. So in going to England, we were able to talk to principals who had used a range of resources and found, maybe this one didn't work as well as the next one, and that took out the guesswork for us. We were joined by the chairman of the Education Council, Mr. Dan Scott, who was in full support of this English national curriculum on these school trips, and he was able to ask a lot of questions that the general community, as part of the Education Council, would have wanted to know. And we walked away from both of those trips feeling energized, feeling that we had made the right decision, and that our students would and could be successful using this national curriculum with the amendments that we've made. An important part of the curriculum that Minister spoke about are the assessments. So we have standardized assessments for all primary school students that are English-based out of the UK. So we'll be able to compare our results with students in the UK. Some of the assessment resources that we'll be using, that Ms. Tammy will be able to speak to in more detail, allow us to compare our students not only just to the UK, but the Caribbean region as well, which is something that we were not able to do before. So when we say our students are global, we're actually really speaking to having global students, and we'll have the data to be able to support that, which is very important. Another thing we're introducing is 6-week moderation. We're not waiting till the end of the year to test students to see if they've passed or failed. So teachers will work in 6-week blocks, and then they have, I think it's 2 or 3 days at the end of that 6 weeks to look at the results for every child in that school, along with their principal and deputy. And that gives them an opportunity to look for gaps in students' learning, areas for improvement, and strengths, and to be able to correct those areas, build on those strengths for the next 6 weeks. And this will help us to avoid students falling behind as the year progresses. I'm not sure if people realize, but government schools actually have a disproportionate number of students with special educational needs than our counterparts in the private sector. Because we have such a broad range of special education needs services, we have the majority of students with special education needs. They are our most precious, our most vulnerable, and some of our most important students. But this large number of SEN students puts a strain on the system as well. And so Minister was very keen on addressing that issue. Very keen on ensuring that our most vulnerable get the same services and support as everybody else so that they can be successful. And to that end, we've created learning hubs in each of the primary schools. So previously, we had a Student Services Centre, which housed our occupational therapists, our educational psychologists, speech and language therapists, visual and hearing impairment specialists. What we've done is we've moved those services into the schools so that students can access those services a lot faster, more effectively. And not just students, teachers as well. We want to move away from a system where if you're having an issue with a child, you send them to someone else. There's somebody else's problem to deal with, and then you drop them back off.
You segregate them, and they feel that they're
and they never
different.
learn, because in society they have to learn to mix and mingle, right? And that starts within the school setting. And so our teachers now have very close access to these professionals as well, so that they can build skills and get resources that they can use in the classrooms with those children specifically. The other thing Minister insisted on, and she's had us working hard, I must say we have been working hard, is having an assistant teacher in every classroom in Key Stage 1. Now, she's insisted that we move that up to Key Stage 2. We were only able to get it for Key Stage 1 this year, but that's a new development. And what it means is our very young children in reception, year 1 and year 2, have a trained teacher, qualified teacher, as well as a trained assistant teacher to support them. And the model is that because we have large numbers of SEN students, we really want the teachers focused on those students because they're the trained individual. They're the ones who have the skills, the qualifications to be able to move children forward quickly, get them to make progress. And so the assistant teacher is able to help with the other students and help them move along. And because we have so many resources for math, for English, we have a brand new social studies curriculum that has been Caymanized and developed by Kiva Powell in our ministry along with another group of individuals, planning for the wide range of students in our schools will be much easier, much more efficient, and much more effective.
Okay, we have one comment and question from one of our listeners. It says, good morning, Mr. Connor, Ms. Juliana, and the panel. I must say that Ms. Juliana is doing an excellent job in that portfolio. My concern and question is to ask, do we have an art teacher in all primary schools? If not, can the public be informed of the reason? Also, has there been consideration towards persons who would like to do volunteer work in this area? Art is our culture, and it should not only be looked at as singing and dancing. I would love to know this part of our culture continues. And thanks to Ms. Juliana and her panel. So they wanted to know whether or not there's an art teacher in all primary schools, and if persons wanted to volunteer, in terms of assistant with art as well.
Be in the best position as they do staff.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. We don't have art teachers in our primary schools, but what we have is individuals within the school that are talented in that area that are used to support the class teacher in the teaching of art. We welcome volunteers who would like to support schools in that area. We do have a volunteer policy. Whichever school they would like to volunteer at, then they can go and collect the forms. There are some requirements, and the school principal or the office staff would be able to help them through the process. What I would like to say is that when we were presenting and working with our schools during our intense journey from April to June with the various curriculum areas, we did have persons that had that keen interest, including teachers from the high school, that presented to regular class teachers the teaching of art and those activities. So in the sense, we don't have a dedicated art teacher, but we've equipped our regular classroom teachers with that knowledge and understanding, along with the support within the schools.
And I just want to add to what Ms. Tammy has said.
Sure.
The social studies curriculum, because the person asked about Caymanian culture, and we recognize how important Caymanian culture is in our new curriculum. So the social studies curriculum that has been developed encourages schools to seek out Caymanian artists, storytellers, and other persons who are stalwarts in our community to come in and be a part of the school. And it also encourages students to go on field trips to visit the National Gallery and other art galleries across the island, so that Caymanian art and culture is a regular and prominent part of the curriculum. In addition, the English National Curriculum now includes design technology, which is the technological aspect of art, if you will. So that will be something new for our students to experience this year and going forward.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Just before we take the break, I'll read this question, and then we will have the Minister respond when we return. And this one says, could the Honourable Minister please say if second language education is to be from primary school straight through to year 12? If so, I wish to congratulate her and her team 1,000 times over. So, Minister, we'll get you to respond to that when we return from this short commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore. Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
So what are you saying, Brownie? You looking concerned about something?
It's okay. I hear some people talking about the new cruise burden thing that can cause a lot of harm in Georgetown and Hogstye Bay and even to 7 Mile Beach. They're saying it should be built some other part of this island. Now, what you think about that?
Well, my darling child, our old-time captains had good sense, you know. They know why they chose Hogstye Bay for the harbor. So why go someplace else now?
That's kind of true, you know. But what about the dredging?
Don't you worry, there'll be no dredging in Hogstye Bay. Them piers are going way out in deep water and they're being built on pilings, so all the water and all them pretty fish will still be flowing back and forth.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm feeling real good about this cruise burden thing now. This is a win for Cayman.
Sure is, Brownie. That's why Asuke supports the port and supports tourism.
Support our port, support our tourism.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. For those of you who may be tuning in late to For the Record this morning, I want to remind you of the guests that we have in the studio this morning. We have the pleasure of having the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly, Minister of Education, Youth, Sports, Agriculture and Lands. We also have the pleasure of having Ms. Sitonia Cacho, who is the Chief Officer in the Ministry. Ms. Lynette Monteith, who's the Acting Deputy Chief Officer, and also with us, Ms. Tamara Hopkins, who's the Acting Director of the Department of Education Services here in the Cayman Islands. Before we went to the commercial break, we had a question in relation to the teaching of a second language in the schools. Minister?
Thanks, O.C. Currently, beginning with this school year, from primary through grade 9, will be mandated to have Spanish as a second language. Mm-hmm. After that, as it currently stands, is optional. But because we're embarking upon a revisit to the whole high school curriculum as we've done with the primary, it certainly could be an item that could be put for discussion so that we could look at the pros and cons of having it mandatory from 10 to 12, because there are the dynamics that would obtain that would not obtain through grade 9.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Ms. Calcho, you spoke about this 6-week intervention where, monitoring will take place in these 6-week intervals as opposed to waiting until the end of the school term or whatever. Yes. I've heard some people comment about government schools and a policy. I'm not sure whether or not it still exists, but they complain about the fact that sometimes when students are not necessarily ready to move on to another grade, they still moved on to that grade, and as a result they find that as one of the negative aspects of our education system. Can you comment on that and the perception that people, whether or not it's a perception or whether or not it is actual reality, and if it is real, then what is being done to address it?
Yes, certainly. I should have stated earlier, I'm actually a qualified teacher myself, and I've worked as a teacher in the Cayman Islands as well as a principal. My personal motto and the motto within the ministry is every decision we make has to be for the benefit of the children we serve, which means we don't make decisions that would adversely affect our children. And in saying that, we don't make decisions about large groups of children being retained or pushed forward. It is done on an individual basis because it depends on every child's need. Research shows, though, that pushing children forward or keeping them back, doesn't benefit them in most cases. And I say most cases, that's why we look at an individual basis. So for an example, if a child has a specific special educational need that cannot be addressed by holding them back, then if we held them back and held them back and held them back, it actually wouldn't help that child at all. Yeah. We'd need to provide that service as they go through their high school years. If a child has a mental health issue, holding them back may not be the best thing for them, depending on what that issue is. If a child has just some learning difficulties, has missed some aspects of their education, then what we prefer to do is provide interventions outside of just that 6-week moderation to help them catch up. This includes working with parents when necessary, because helping children work from home as well is one of the great ways to help them meet the same level as their peers, so that they can move on as well. One of the issues with moving children, or keeping children back, not sending them to high school, is that they experience puberty a lot earlier with their younger peers. Research shows, especially for males, if you hold them back in primary school and they experience puberty before their classmates, their level of curiosity is different at that point, and it can sometimes victimize children in the younger years. So we have to be very careful about that as well. And that's why I say it's done on an individual basis. Like I said, every decision we make has to benefit the children we serve. So there's no kind of whole answer that works for everyone. It is on an individual basis.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Just to add a little
sure,
bit
Ms.
to
Monteith,
that. So the focus and the expectation in all our classrooms is for teachers to provide that high quality teaching that caters to all of the children in their classrooms. As Ms. Cacho said, however, we have students who have particular needs, and at that point in time, we have the wherewithal with our specialists in our hubs in schools to do the necessary diagnosis or assessments and diagnose exactly what those students need and put those measures in place. And that could go from work in schools to looking at if they need, for example, a child with mental health issues may need expert help outside the school. And that may be local, that may be overseas. So as was mentioned before, it is about that individual child and what he or she needs instead of looking at a whole class.
Okay, so you the answer is there is not a policy in terms of advancing, a whole class or a whole group of students, to the next grade, even if they're not prepared for it. It's on an individual. Decisions like that are made on an individual basis.
In general, we don't want principals holding back large groups of students from their education. They still have to go to high school. They still have to go to university. So the emphasis really is on rectifying any learning difficulty the child has so that they can progress. That has to be our focus constantly. And it's keeping in mind as well that children learn differently. We around this table learn very differently. And so recognizing that how I may have been taught in high school worked really well for me, or primary school worked really well for me, but it may not work really well for another child. And I've heard people say as well, well, when I went to school, this is what they did and it worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Again, every decision we make has to be for the benefit of the children that we serve.
Now, Minister, you mentioned that the chairperson of the Education Council, Mr. Dan Scott, accompanied you to the UK as well. I'd like you to comment some about the role of the Education Council, any moves towards decentralization of education where the local community has more of a say in terms of how schools are run, because they're so much more closely aligned to a certain extent with it as well. And I'd also like you to comment on, we've seen in some jurisdictions, especially close to election time, Jamaica and Trinidad, a laptop for every student. And then you don't hear much more about it afterwards. Now you've spoken about technology here in the Cayman Islands, and I'd like you to explain to our listening and viewing audience the level that we use technology here in the Cayman Islands, with more emphasis now being placed on STEM, for instance. What is being done in that regard as well. I think we have about 4 minutes before we go to headline news. So,
okay. All right, thanks, O.C. The process of getting Dan Scott to be chairman, and it was a process of having to talk to him because he's a very busy individual here, but he's a caring one. He comes from an educational background. So after talking to him for some time and showing him the reason why I felt we needed him at the helm of the Education Council at the time, he graciously accepted. And then, of course, I had to take it through caucus and cabinet, and it was accepted. Dan brings a business perspective to education. He also brings a realistic and a practical perspective to education, having come pretty much from the same side of the railroad that most of us around the table came from. He understands what it is to work hard to be able to achieve an ultimate goal, and to work smart to be able to get that goal. So one of the first things when I spoke to Dan was that, but the meetings can't be no longer than 1 hour. And I knew right away I had the right person because I didn't want the Education Council to become a talk shop. I wanted a council that reached into the various social stratifications of our community, that could relate to all our schools, whether it was from East End or whether it was from the Dart School at Cayman Bay. Because I'm a firm and avid believer that education has that wonderful capacity of breaking glass ceilings, and there were a lot of ceilings that need to be broken if we were going to do the nation building from an educational perspective. So when we went to the UK, it was a foregone conclusion that Dan would be invited to accompany the first trip, which he went on, and he's so committed he paid for it himself. He didn't accept any tickets or anything from the government. So that was another sign that I had the right person in the job. When Dan visited us with the school, being the accountant, he was very articulate, and through the process of deductive reasoning, he asked questions and came to conclusions, and he too was satisfied that the move and the embarkation of the British curriculum was the right way to go. We also saw schools there that were in practice with a governance structure that we're moving towards. Now, many had hoped that I would do that for this upcoming semester. Having looked at all of the needs that they are with training, with putting the resources in, I think that to do so would be a systematic setup for failure at this particular time. And I say that from the background that Rome was not made in one day. In fact, those schools in the UK that saw success, some of them took as much as 5 years to do it. I also went out on a limb politically in that nobody likes change. And Caymanians are no different. Perhaps we probably hate change more than many other jurisdictions. And so from a political standpoint, I realized that with invoking so much change at this time, OC, that there could very well be a dip in the grades next year because of all the transition. But no pain is no gain. And we're in for the long haul because education is something that we're going to play with. So from that perspective, I think, like politics, timing is everything. And I believe in governance. I believe that it has to get some tweaking. And I say this without fear of contradiction. Those people know me, I speak my mind. You like me or you don't like me. I won't be moving to a governance structure that is purely a mercantile governance structure where only the rich and those who are privileged will get the benefits and the right choices. I want to take my time to see how it's working with what we invested and to make sure that we get the right persons from the community. And by right, I don't mean the right colour, the right last name. I mean the persons with the right heart and who's genetically encoded with that Caymanian DNA. That's taken me some time, but I'm committed to the process.
Okay, thank you very much for that. When we return, I have a comment that was made by one of our listeners. Actually, it was last week when we were talking, about the conference and talking about the teachers and their attitudes as well. So, Ms. Susan, are you ready? You ready for? Well, I can actually read this. This listener wrote in and said that I believe that once students can be convinced that teachers really have their best interest at heart, students can transform and produce excellence. Says the wonderful thing about young persons is that if we can capture their sense of optimism, the sky is the limit for them. That was the comment that listener had. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after headline news, which is a very, very short period.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
Two pieces of legislation to clarify Cayman's regime for trusts are now in force. The private trust company's regulations and the trust regulations were gazetted earlier this month. Together, they support recent legislative measures to enhance transparency, such as disclosure requirements for the trust sector, all part of efforts to get the green light from the Financial Action Task Force when they review Cayman's efforts to address anti-money laundering and counter-finance terrorism in June 2020. U.S. President Donald Trump has said the U.S. and China will, quote, very shortly resume trade talks after a weekend of escalating tension in Beijing. On Friday, Mr. Trump sharply hiked tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese imports in retaliation for fresh duties from Beijing. China has yet to comment, but earlier called for, quote, calm to resolve the fight. An international leaders gathering at the G7 summit are reportedly nearing an agreement to help firefighters in the Amazon rainforest. Leaders from the U.S., Japan, Germany, France, Italy, the U.K., and Canada continue their meeting at the seaside town on Monday. It comes international tension over record fires burning in Brazil. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, we have the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Minister responsible for education, youth, sports, agriculture, and lands, and her team, which consists of Miss Satonia Cacho, who's the Chief Officer in the ministry, Miss Lynette Monteith, who's the Acting Deputy Chief Officer, and Miss Tama Hopkins, who's the Acting Director of the Department of Education Services here in the Cayman Islands as well. One of our listeners has written in and said, "Good morning, OC. I would like to ask the minister about the dress code for our children. I notice that whenever the school year begins, they are very strict on the children's dress code, especially the boys wearing their pants below their waist. I am a school bus driver, and I see it happening all the time. Also, I see that the smoking with the vaping cigarettes occurring, and that needs to be addressed as well." Does anyone want to comment on that, Minister?
Thanks, OC. Members would want to go back down memory lane to be cognizant that last year I took the bold step with my team to introduce a written dress code. It was somewhat controversial, but people sucked it up and got over it. And I can say I was the most proud minister at the school leaving exercises to see people walking the stage with their pants not down by the knees and their hair is properly cut and neat and their head up. I mean, you could just see that they did take pride in his stride. But persons ought also to be fully cognizant that this is a tripartite relationship. It's the parents who first buy the clothes or receive the clothes if they're given by some charity. So parents need to take the accountability to ensure that when they leave home that they're properly dressed, as opposed to taking to social media, beating up my education administrators and technocrats, or well, the minister's used to it, so I don't really mind anymore.
Broad shoulders.
Because we're after a student-centered education process, and the way you look has a lot to do with it. I mean, you judge a book by their cover, and when they get 18 they can make their own choices, but they come into my schools, and I call them my schools because I'm the one held accountable to it. Then they're going to take pride in their stride. When they go and shop up at Maples or Walkers or government, they should not be showing up in a lackadaisical type way. If Caymanians want to continue to take the global village by storm, then I can't think of any Caymanian during my upcoming unless it was due to poverty. And even then, if you had one suit, you washed it on your hand out of wash tub, but you were going to take pride in your side. And this is a plug that OC didn't ask me to do, but I watch him pretty much every morning. And one of the first things that you see, OC, when you watch you, is the seam in your sleeve and the crispness and the freshness of your shirt. And that didn't just come because you can afford the nice threads, as the young people would say, but somewhere along the line somebody instilled in you the importance of, no matter how poor we were, that we were going to look acceptable. And once we stepped out of our home, my grandmother would always say, you never know when you're going to end up in the hospital, so you dress prepared as if you're going to meet the prince or you're going to end up in the hospital. And our Caymanian children should not be systematically cheated by us closing our eyes. Now, if there is a falling away during the course, that's accountability that lays on the shoulder of the parent and the principal. The principals want more authority and autonomy, and we're giving them that. If you can't control your classroom and your campus, then you need to be talking to DES to tell them that you want another school to go to. Now, that's stiff, but we're in it for the long haul. I'm determined if there's a legacy that I'm going to leave in Cayman, it's going to be that every single child will get a proper, necessary, requisite, adequate education, and nobody will be pointing the fingers at our Caymanians and say they're second-class citizens in the Cayman Islands.
Okay, Ms. Hopkins and Ms. Monteith, as former teachers yourselves, anything you want to add to what the minister has said in that regard?
Let me just add, if I could.
Sure.
I am not just stopping there. I actually have on my desk now, which I asked the Education Council to assist in drafting, a dress code for the staff.
Okay.
And people will probably raise their eyebrows, but I have been to a couple school leaving ceremonies where I learnt Science 101, just from when people were on the platform as teachers and not appropriately dressed. So that will be the next one that's coming out. So watch your space.
Excellent. Ladies.
Well, taking pride in your stride is something that we've been pushing all year. And we will continue to push it, as Ms. Juliana said. At the beginning, it was teeth and pains with persons challenging, but we stuck to it. Principals stuck to it. And if we are laxing throughout the year, then we have to ensure and hold all accountable that we will take pride in our stride.
And from
Ms.
me,
Monty? Sorry.
we speak about taking pride in your stride at school as students, but we take pride in our stride all the time. So when we become adults, that transcends into our work. I am heavily involved in sports, and my team and my girls that I coach, my young ladies, know that uniform is an important part. So when they come to practice, they tuck in their shirt. And I had a coach that once said to me, if you can't tuck in your shirt, that means that what you're wearing on the bottom is not appropriate. So it's not just about school, it's about every single aspect of your life. Yeah. So we're grooming our students to be adults that really do take pride in themselves and in their stride at all levels.
Minister, the issue of decentralization, where are we with that in terms of any plans moving forward?
Well, we've decentralized our interventionists and our specialists so that they're, like I said, on the campus. There is the Education Council created a subcommittee dealing with the decentralization. Education Council have looked at it. The chairman have given me a draft, which I've looked at, and no deep depth, but I've done a cursory look. But I decided to put a brakes on it for this semester, this year, because I felt that it was going to be putting too much on the system to expect the teachers and the students and the parents and my administrators to take all of this new curriculum, all the new resources, and then get a whole new structure of governance. Because educating from a holistic perspective, my students of paramount consideration, again, let me stress, is a matter of time, and it's not a matter of acceptance, it's a matter of timing. The schools need to prove to us now that they have these elements, that they can perform, and I believe they will perform. And I believe that where some of the urgency for the pushes is that persons don't fully analyze the whole demographics of the private school and the public schools, that, as Chief Officer said, we're the ones who have the 22% plus SEN or special education needs in our students. So it's not apples comparing to apples, but yet we're expected to have an equivalency in grades as the private schools. Those persons usually are the higher echelons of our society, where the income is in the six figures, and they get tutors, and they have mothers who stay home, and they get all this other gadgetry. Most of our Caymanians aren't that fortunate. We have to work sometimes more than one job to make sure that we can make ends meet. So we have to take all of that into consideration. And then we also have to consider, who will these governors be? Coming from a perspective historically where we've gone through the process of being colonies, and all of the hand-downs without consultations, without accountability or transparency, I'm cautious as to the composition of the governors. And until I'm satisfied that we have developed within our communities, especially now that we have constituencies where we won't see a South African type of governance, then I'm going to proceed with caution.
Excellent with that. We're planning on opening up the phone lines after this next commercial break that we have, but we still have about 4 minutes before we go to that break.
There was a question about vapor.
Yes,
I
vaping,
can,
yes.
Convey or intimate to the listener and the caller that the Minister of Health has discussed it in caucus, and there are some concerns, health concerns. So that minister is actually looking at the whole issue of it and whether or not from that will emanate legislation or regulations. They have not progressed to that point, but is under active consideration.
One of the things that I'd like to talk about also is teacher recruitment. When does it take place? Because I heard someone commented last week, and I'm not sure, where the information was coming from, but they talk about the fact that if you wait too long to recruit, then you don't get the creme de la creme, as far as teachers are concerned. So can we talk about our recruitment policy? Can we talk about the whether or not the Cayman Islands are an attractive jurisdiction for us to get quality teachers, and whether or not what we do regionally as well as internationally?
I will. Tammy can respond to that, because we have some 80 teachers that are coming on stream this time, and she can tell from when the jurisdictions they come and the timing and some of the budgetary constraints on that timing. But also she should be in a position to say that because of the salary enhancement, that is an attraction as well, because it was interesting to see that shortly after we went out and said that the region, in particular Jamaica, and of course Bernie Sanders in the United States and others have been pushing and implementing a salary, and I think our salary now is pretty competitive with other jurisdictions as well.
Okay, why don't we'll take the commercial break. This way we won't have to interrupt you in 2 minutes to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. As soon as I say phone lines open up, I see Susan on the phone.
1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
At Logic, we make things better for our customers. It's why we're offering free Boost Wi-Fi. With Boost, you get improved Wi-Fi connectivity everywhere in your home, so there's no more dead zones. The only people we're not making this better for is parents. Because now with seamless Wi-Fi in every room in your home, go to your room isn't really the punishment it used to be. Sorry about that. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Okay, where Ezekiel is? I can't tell the last time I seen him.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you where old Heart is, because I didn't see her in a long time.
It's okay. She pack up her bags and she gone England, my dear. Claim she gone look and walk an opportunity.
Brown Ezekiel gone England to do the same thing, look and work.
Some Caymanians claiming they can't find work here at home, so they're packing up and running to cool Britannia.
Well, that is why we need that new cruise berthing facility. It's going to bring a whole lot of jobs when they're building it and when they're running it day by day by day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. First, they're going to have all kind of construction jobs, and then they're going to need more taxis, more tour guides, more craft vendors, more people working in the shops, more of all kind of jobs. Look here, the thing going to be a major source of employment for Caymanians.
I am sure then both Ezekiel and Old Heart can land a good job doing good work because of this new cruise berthing facility.
Brownick, get on the telephone, call Ezekiel and Old Heart, tell them plenty of work is going to be available in Cayman. Now is our time to shine and truly be Caymankind.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have 3 or 4 callers on hold. We promise you that we will take every one of those calls. We just want to give Miss Tammy Hopkins an opportunity for some comments, as well as Miss Monteith, and then we will go to the phone lines. Miss Tammy.
Okay, thank you. In regards to our recruitment process, we begin interviews in January, and all vacant positions that we are aware of at that time are filled. Offers are made and completed by March. What is a big challenge is when we get late resignations coming in after that point. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether it be the Caribbean or the UK. we look for the best. Teaching is a calling, and we look for the best of the best. And some of our best teachers come from the Caribbean region. Some of our best teachers come from the UK. So with that in mind, we are filling late resignations at the moment, but no school will start without a teacher to support the children in the classroom when we reopen.
Excellent. That is very reassuring, Ms. Munty.
And this last point is just some tips for parents, and this is across both the primary and secondary sectors. Invariably, we speak about parents being involved in their children's education, but some parents may not know or may have been out of the classroom for so long. They say, well, how can I help my child?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know those that new curriculum. I don't know the subject matter. But for parents out there, if you're wondering how you can help your child or your children, simply stay involved. And that can be as simple as speaking to them when they come home from school in the evening. Discuss what they did at school in the day. If they can tell you what they've done, it means that they've learned what they had to learn. So that discussion is very important. Listen as well. They may be having little personal challenges, and you can listen and you can offer your words of advice. Learn with your child. Most of our schools offer workshops or parent evenings for literacy, for numeracy, whatever, the other subject areas as well. When you're invited to go to schools, try to make it a priority to go to those sessions, because that is important for you to understand exactly what's there, what your children is learning, and how you can help them with their homework. Ask questions. I think that no question is a trivial question. So your children have tutorial teachers, they have homeroom teachers. Ask the questions. If you need to know, it means that it is important. So really be in contact at all times. Help the school to celebrate successes. Go out to see your child perform. Go out to witness their assemblies and them, being active in the school. Really just those little things, and it really don't take a lot. It might take some time. And I know that some of our parents work shifts, difficult times. They may have to make those sacrifices, but no sacrifice that you make for your child is too much. So I'm just encouraging all of our parents to get involved and stay involved.
Very sage advice. Very sage advice. I'm going to ask you to put your headphones on now. We're going to the phone lines, and we're going to ask each caller to try to be as brief as possible so that we can accommodate everyone. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Hossein.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
On your panel there. Major, this is Clive Christian. I know I used to be a teacher at Westgate Primary and Black Creek School.
Yeah, you started at the same time Mr. Jimmy Ryan started in West Bay. I remember seeing that in the Old Trade Winds newspaper.
Yeah, it was West Bay there, and Mr. Leave and others. But when they talk about recruiting teachers, now I think I have quite a few dozen, not children now, adults now, well-known adults too, that I taught in school, that they can verify that I was a very good teacher. Now, I'm not saying that for any praise myself, but there are dozens of young people coming out of high school that I think would be, some of them, better teachers than those coming to university with all master's and doctorate degrees. Because teaching is something sort of bred in a person. And I've had teachers that they had good education, but they did not know how to impart it properly to the children. And I think the government could be well to start recruiting a lot of young people from the graduate students as pupil teachers. And even half the price of ordinary teachers is a very good starting point, and would give them a better idea if they want to continue in teaching, or if they teach pupil teachers for a year or two before they go to university, they can accumulate some money. The other point is, Ms. Juliana, I would like you to be the one that bring back the Bible in the schools. Those morning devotions were very, very important. And I don't care if there's some people that they're atheists or they don't want it. We are a Christian country. and they should train up a child in the way they should go. And I think that's a very, very important part of their training in school. So I'd like your comments on those two things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Orrett Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, and good morning to you guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Honorable Mr. Juliana O'Connor Conley. I'm concerned about why government is giving away so many concessions, especially now that construction is at its highest. And I was suggesting that government start collecting these concessions and putting it into a trade school fund and start building trade schools for young people. And right now, about 75 to 80% of the people that you see working in construction here in Cayman from overseas have been to trade schools. And I think our young people in the future should have a big part of the construction going on here in our country. And so far, government has given away hundreds of millions of dollars worth of concessions. And I spoke to a gentleman that works with, I think he's the manager of the development with DOT, and he said that he would be willing to work with the government and partnering with the government and building trade schools. And I think if government is giving away Mr. DOT and his companies any concessions, I think part of that deal should be building trade schools in Cayman. And I think the first one should be in Georgetown, the second one should be in Bordentown, and then as our trade school funds get larger, I think we should put one in West Bay and one in East End. That our young people, those that have transportation problems, are able to ride their bicycles or even walk to the trade schools. And by having these trade schools, we'll also keep our young people from being in the wrong places at the wrong time and being idle, and encourage them to receive a certificate that they can have a big part in the construction that is so rapidly in our country at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Responses? Minister?
Yeah, let me deal with the first from Mr. Christian. Tommy can deal with the recruiting part of it if she needs to further augment. But certainly the current education law now mandates that religion is to be part of her curriculum, and staff around the table will tell you that I make no bones about when I ask the questions, do we still have morning tutorials? Do we still have assemblies with it? Because that is my ultimate goal. If there's a school, and I hope that there isn't, who is not at the very first 15 minutes or 20 minutes teaching religion or Bible to the school, everybody that comes here knows that he has founded it upon the seas and established it. That we make no apologies, is Almighty God. I know there have been a case where now there's an exception proviso that if they don't want this, if they don't want that, they can not go to it. When you don't have the reverential fear of Almighty God, there are no boundaries, and that's why we see so much of the social breakdown that we see today, is because we've taken God out of the schools where it's systematic or mandated. We're taking them out of the homes, we're taking them out of government, and the Bill of Rights have come in as a big umbrella, which in a time of hurricanes provides no warmth, provides no security, provides no comfort. Cayman Islands is known throughout the whole world, even though the fight is on our shores, even of this week in Court Appeal. We are a God-fearing country. Not everybody goes to church on Sunday, but they know who the true and the living God is. And if you know that, then find a jurisdiction that you feel comfortable that provides a utopia where God is not God. Cayman has been blessed. It's been a miracle For all those who've had the resources, Cayman have been blessed. And I do believe that we receive our blessing, because the good book says that if you don't have a vision that's a godly vision, you shall perish. That is the fear when you remove God. We've seen it, examples around the whole world, including the mother country. And then, it's not just a matter of bringing back the Bible to the school. It's just to make sure that those who are at the helm, whether it's principals or whether it's DES or the minister, that we ensure it's done. I am so sick and fed up, OC, of Caymanians apologizing for their culture. We are Caymanians, and that is what make us Caymanians. And we got so neutralized that we don't even want to talk like Caymanians anymore. That's how we knew people were from Easton or West Bay or Scranton or Cayman Brac. Was by, even in Cayman Brac, as small as we are, we could tell that Tamo was from Weston and I was from Watering Place or the Eastern District. That's what made us what we are. And if it's so good that so many people come here and don't want to leave, that the 7-year rollover never seems to work, then why do we want to change it for those who come here? Let's be proud of being Caymanians, and let's stand up for what it means to be Caymanian.
Excellent. We're going to take a commercial break. We have another caller on hold. We're going to ask that caller, hang in there. Quick commercial break. When we return, we will hear from you. Please stay tuned.
I'm going to Vant Motors to test drive the new 7-seater Rush.
They have some really sweet deals going on now, not true?
Yep, on SUVs. And they sweeten the deal by giving you a warm oven-baked cookie with each test drive.
Better test drive more than one, just to be sure.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this month at Vant Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vant's summer SUV sale. That's every SUV in stock on sale for thousands off or cash back. Sweeten the deal only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. As promised, we're going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. Good morning to Minister of Education, Juliana O'Connor-Connolly. Good morning to the Chief Officer, Ms. Cacho. And good morning to Mrs. Monteith, who I believe is the
Acting.
Chief Education. Sorry. Man, she's been doing the job so long and school and educated all of us. If she don't know what's going on, nobody else will. So,
good morning, Rohan.
Morning, Mom. I just wanted to call, and I'm going to surprise my friend O.C. By being positive, complimentary about what you and your team are doing. It was a brave political decision by you to empower and allow your education team to work closely with a group of private sector representatives and volunteers and you have a very strong, robust sort of education council full of some strong-willed personalities. None of them are acolytes. None of them are yes men. And it seems as if we are starting to get back on the right track. So I want to congratulate you having that sort of courage to empower the people that you are responsible in appointing to that position. I also want to congratulate your education department and ministry team, because it looks like, as I said, we're tackling the issue of the primary level curriculum and so on and so forth. In my opinion, the most important thing in our country is education, arming our people, training and developing them so that they can participate in this Caymanian miracle. For whatever reason, it hasn't always been this way, but it is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I think you guys are on the right track. So as much grief as I give and as many questions as I ask, you've got to give Jack their jacket and say, best of luck to you, congratulations, keep up the good work, and this is proof that when you work in partnership with different people, and they don't necessarily have to be party loyalists or affiliates, we are all wanting the same thing, a safe, successful Cayman Islands where Caymanian people can thrive. Education is at the core of that. In my perfect world, I would have hoped that they could have given you, Mrs. O'Connor Connolly, the same sort of responsibility for work so that we could somehow dovetail education and the actual labor needs of our people and more importantly, help the UCCI sort of campus and system get to the point where the graduates and the people that are coming back from school have a sort of streamline or pathway into interview opportunities, which then lead to job opportunities, which lead then to participation in the Cayman Economic Miracle. I also want to thank you, Mrs. Minister, because what you said just now about the place that Caymanians should hold, and it's a very pro-Caymanian position that you've taken. Very few of your colleagues have the sort of courage to do so. And I just want to say, on behalf of the right-thinking members of society who believe in balance and Caymanians should be able to thrive and succeed in their country, it warms my heart to hear a senior elected official like yourself call it what it is. If we can't have Caymanians participating and earning their way, what's the point of it all? In my mind, a lot of the big other projects that we're spending money on, if I was the emperor, I would give you and the police any money that you needed, because not to build $110 million schools, because physical buildings don't make an education. It takes a program, it takes teachers, it takes partnership with the private sector, and more importantly, it takes the involvement of parents. But I want to congratulate you and wish you continued success. You guys deserve it, and I'm man enough to call it and say that. So have a great day, ladies, and all the very best to you and your teams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moxham.
Thank you, Rohan. I'm glad that the team and I were able to provide a unique, even if a one-time opportunity, not for you to give OC grief.
Okay, I don't think we have any callers on hold at the moment.
They were talking about technical and vocational, if you want.
Sure,
okay.
Yeah.
I think people were under disillusion that we're not offering anything at all, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, SciFec offers a very vibrant program. There's some semblance of a program in our high schools. Obviously, it's not where we want it to be, because it's going to take a lot of investment in technology and equipment and the teachers to do it. We would have seen last week that Mark and Denise DeMarcardo went out and invested quite a bit of money, and for privacy I don't want to say exactly how much, into their technical school there. At the end of that wonderful occasion, I had the opportunity to meet with the representatives from the German training school in Jamaica, as well as Hart, and the Premier and I and my team and his team is looking forward to a return visit to those institutions in Jamaica to see how we can partnership and get some synergies. And that's dovetailing into the meeting we've had with Prime Minister Holness when we were in Jamaica 2 weeks ago, about how we could create the relationships. There's a quote I like to borrow from, I think it was Manley, who said that geography has made us neighbours, our economists have made us partners, but our constitutional history have made us brothers. And I think that we can springboard off of that quote that he put out there. I think there's much more that we can do with Jamaica, that we could improve not just themselves but ourselves. And in fact, Satonya was saying, when we did visit to United Kingdom, and at one of the schools that were doing exceptionally well, and we asked, well, where did you get your teachers? How do you train them? And he had just got a cohort from Jamaica who turned out to be his best teachers. So, if time did permit, Tammy could provide the diversity in the recruitment process, that we have teachers this time as far down, if memory serves me right, as South Africa. And yes, we have Caribbean teachers as well. And it will show that the UK was not in the majority. So I want to emphasize, because no matter what we do in Cayman, we still have that crab in the bucket mentality. So if something isn't working, you get criticized. If it's working too good, then they find all the minuscule things to go and criticize. And I am begging you, Caymanians, today, please resist the temptation to make education a football. We are doing exceptionally well in football under the leadership that's there now. Go and kick some of those that we're providing, because I don't have time today, but the other aspect of sports, we are doing tremendous works there. I'll come back to OC shows maybe someday and explain that.
Look forward to it. We have 5 callers. So callers, I'm going to ask you, please be as brief as possible so we can accommodate everyone. We only have about 20 minutes left on the show as well. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Minister, and to the rest of the panel. Good morning, Mr. Connor. I haven't spoken to you in some time. Anyway, I trust all is well. I didn't catch the show from the very beginning, so I missed a bit, and if this has been said before, I apologize. I do believe that I heard on playback of an address that the minister had done recently, that she said she was bringing the English curriculum back to the Cayman Islands, and for that I too would like to congratulate her on. It's something that I was educated under. I quite understand, and I believe that that's one of the problems that our children were having, because the parents couldn't assist them at homework and projects and stuff like that, because obviously the parents got it on the one system, the children would get it on another. And just to move away from that for a second, I was wondering if, with this being the case, is it now going to be, and I'm hoping it will be, that all signs and anything on display will now be spelled the English way and not, other ways and short form ways and stuff, because it is very confusing to children and to other people. So, I believe in what the minister is doing. I know that she's a great educator. She's a wonderful and powerful orator. So she has my support on that, and I really hope that she could remain there a bit longer just to see it go to its maximum.
Thank you very much, caller. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Oh, okay.
Caller, I'm going to ask you to be very quick, since this is your second call and we have 3 other callers behind you and short in time.
Yeah, where's it going? I just wanted to remind the panel the question I asked just now about recruiting pupil teachers from the high school.
Yes.
I would just like to get their opinions on that.
Excellent. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Take a note of that. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, esteemed minister and her esteemed colleague.
Good morning, ma'am.
This is Ruth Seymour here. I'd like to congratulate you for various reasons, because I heard some interesting words come out, like partnership, expectation, and standardization, and morale. I first of all want to say that I'm very happy that you see that the morale of teachers is very important. And I do as a former teacher as well. Education has never left me. But I also want to congratulate you too, because by going to England and getting into the English education system, it means that netball will be more of a priority, because that is so in England. That's just what a little joke for Lynette, because I know she's there. But I really want to make a point on expectations. I noticed that you sat down and you talked a lot about your the expectations of teachers and what teachers wanted, and I'm happy with all of that. But I also would like for you to look at the expectations that we would like from teachers because of what the surrounding discussions are talking about, the failure of our school system. I am not saying that it is so. I'm just saying the surrounding person are saying it. So I would like for teachers to understand that whilst we have complied with them getting a lot of money, and I agree with that. I agree that their salary should be increased. But I also would like for them to sit with you and to say what is it that they are going to change and give to you as your expectation for what you have done. Because it can't be just every morning the same way, that you have your expectations that you want, and I heard what you said, what you want for every child in the Cayman Islands. But I believe that, and I would like, and this is not a sore point, but I would like for you to think that some teachers would have reached almost $5,000, and therefore I know the person you are, that you're going to look to see that you certainly give them an opportunity to move forward and get a better salary. Because if someone is come to 2 years ago, OC, and they get 5,000, you were there 15 years and you're almost 5,000, you would feel a how. And I want the minister to think about it, because I know she is a very emotional, soft person with terms of people, and I know she's going to look into that. So that's all I want to say. But continue. I think that Cayman is going to do well. I'm not here to criticize any exam because I benefit from both of them. But you're the person who have to make that choice for our children.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you, Mr. C.
We're going to take the last caller. We're going to a commercial break, and we're going to cut the phone lines off at that point in time because we want to give our panel an opportunity to respond to all of the questions and comments, and also for closing remarks as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, sir, and good morning to the minister and the two other ladies on the panel.
Good morning, ma'am.
First of all, congratulations, Mrs. O'Connor Conley.
Thank you, ma'am.
I do appreciate everything that you're trying to do as regards the education of our children. This should apply whether they're in private schools or public schools, and so I thank you for that. I'll make this very quick. Mr. Orrett has already given me the amount of time it's left. But teachers' aid in schools. In my early years, I taught for 3 years in a primary school, but I didn't have a teacher's aid as such. At that point, we didn't need it. But nowadays, as you well know, teacher's aids are very, very important in the classroom. And so I am hoping that as much as we appreciate the classroom teacher, that any considerations given to them by way of enhancing salaries and benefits, that we not forget the teacher's aid. You can respond afterwards. As far as uniforms are concerned, I agree with everything that you're saying. One of the things that I hope will be put in place is that the materials used for the CIFEC schools, that black and white, there has to be a change in that type of uniform. The materials are extremely hot for attending school in the tropics, and I hope we can look into that and maybe even change the color. I'm not sure I'd want to be in black and white every single day either. But pay increases, I'm sure, will be based on a performance basis, and if you perform in the classroom, you will be rewarded for it as in any other company or institution. You must prove that you're deserving of a pay increase. The other thing that I wanted to mention,
very quickly, caller, please.
The recruitment of teachers. maybe if we're finding that we're short of assistants in the classroom, we may want to consider other teachers, even though they're retired, but who are both available, willing, and capable of assisting in the classroom. I think that would be excellent. I have other things that I could speak of, but time is not on my side right now. I thank you very much. Congratulations. I look forward to working with you in any way that I can to see that this program goes forward successfully.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, our panel will respond to all of the callers and closing comments as well. Please stay tuned.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore,
In 1996, Rotary Club Central led the way initiating a disaster fund to prepare and assist our community toward recovery. The Rotary Clubs of the Cayman Islands then expanded this valuable instrument, the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund. Thereafter, Rotary District 7020, a group of 86 clubs over 10 countries in 16 islands across the Northwest Caribbean, grew this idea, the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Today, this Rotary Central idea has worked relief and recovery, assisting communities throughout this region. Rotary, with you before, during, and after. Rotary, connecting the world.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking or rusting cans after they have come in contact with flood water. Also discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio, my pleasure to have the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Minister with responsibility for education, youth, sports, agriculture, and lands. Also with her, Ms. Tonya Cacho, who is the Chief Officer in the Ministry, Ms. Lynette Monteith, who is the Acting Deputy Chief Officer, and Ms. Tama Hopkins, who is the Acting Director of the Department of Education Services. We started talking about the new curriculum introduced in the primary schools in the Cayman Islands, and we have covered several other subjects as well. I know that all of you have been taking copious notes during the call-in, so I want to give you all an opportunity to respond to those calls, and at the same time, any closing remarks or any points that you may have missed that you want to include now as well.
Thanks, Osi. The first one was, in addition to congratulations, was the signs that are displayed should all be in English. And I think that for the foundation, that certainly will be the case, because we have provided the workbooks and the textbooks and the regular exercise books that are all English-based and next to the English curriculum. But because we're living in a global world, there will be some cross-analysis of how other people spell, like the American leave out the U in some instances, but that would not be the foundation. It would only be like for analysis so that they'd be familiar with it. Yes. Ms. Tama will deal with Mr. Christian's question as far as it relates to recruiting of pupil teachers, but if I could go on into Ms. Lucille's, she also, and I want to thank her on behalf of the team for her congratulatory remarks. she slipped in, as I expected her to do, about netball in the legitimate expectation that they were going to do better. And I can happily report that that is happening, because she will see an increase of the financial contribution in the sports grant this year that the minister is doing. There have been improvements in the physical facility, and of course, it's no great secret that we have one of perhaps the best netballers in our presence of Miss Monteith, and she wouldn't let us forget about assistant netball. And Miss Lucille have been a warrior for netball for many years, so we look forward to netball having its equal place within the core sports that we promote here in Cayman. And there was also a inquiry about the change that some teachers were near the 5,000 threshold and what would be done. I said from the beginning, and it's worth repeating, that because I have no jurisdiction under the Section 55 of the Constitution, all I can do is throw out baits and put some political pressure on in the proper way. Yes. And I did say, and because I know Mr. Manson is marching steadfast towards world-class civil service, and I've given him the challenge to my team that when he talks about world-class, that he would be looking for reasons to say that teachers are not within the top echelons of that world-class civil service. And hand in hand with that would be that domino effect downwards, that those are below, that they need to be looked at, whether it needs job descriptions being revamped or revisited, and those upward, because in given a minimum 5,000, it can, through unintended consequences, cause those who are near that threshold, either above or below, to lose their morale. And of course, there would be the temptations for naysayers to say, well, teaching isn't about money. Well, my response is, you show me a profession that isn't about money. Because last time I checked Cayman National Bank, they didn't give me equivalency for love or dedication or hard work. It takes money still to make the world go round. And teachers, as I said, we value them, and to value them, we had to put a monetary prescription to that. So I'm looking forward also with eager anticipation for that work to be either commenced and or completed for those who are downstream of the 5,000 and upstream of the 5,000. The next one posed by Miss Daphne was as it related to teachers, aides, and any of the team can fill in on that as they go along. She was hoping that the salary benefits would be there. And because we're looking at a holistic approach, we're not segregating anyone within the system, but we're looking realistically, financially, and practically to see how we can bring them all on board. And I know that the teacher assistants had a meeting with Chief Officer, and she can say some of the outcomes with that, how she satisfied their inquiries. And finally, there was some talk about the colour of the uniforms, and I don't get into that aspect. I cite the wider parameter, but the team can respond about the colour and the type for sci-fi. And the recruitment of teachers to consider retirement teachers for support staff. I can say that some of that's already happening, where we had teachers, for example, Mr. Roach was a PE teacher and is probably as old as me and you put together in a colossal summation, but he's still very active, and he still has that calling for PE. So he was brought back into the system to assist, and there'll be teachers who get sick or have to go home for whatever reasons that was not in the planning for the year. So we have a pool of support teachers which would be inclusive but not limited there to previous teachers who still have the capacity and the want to be in the classroom.
Okay, Ms. Catcher?
I just want to say that, to wrap up, education is a partnership, and we've said before in public forums that we all have open doors. People can come in and see us and speak to us, because our goal is to improve the education system, especially, not only in, but especially in the government school system. And so if people have ideas and suggestions that they want to share with us and to join us on that partnership, they're welcome to give us a call or come in to see us. We do have an open door policy, and that is extended to people inside of our schools and outside of our schools.
Okay. And in regards to the pupil teachers,
yes.
In our system we have assistant teachers, and Minister alluded to it earlier. In our Key Stage 1 classes, all Key Stage 1 classes have assistant teachers. These are persons from various backgrounds, but with a minimum of an associate degree. We encourage the upward mobility for them as well to pursue their degrees in teaching through either UCCI, or they apply for a scholarship for Caymanians to go off to come back. We do have one newly qualified teacher who was an assistant teacher in Cayman Bragg for the last 3 years, and now she's gotten her PGCE, and she's now doing her newly qualified teacher program. So there are ways and means of developing. I, being a teacher's aide, that's how I got into it, and I value the opportunities that we do provide for persons to upward, to increase their qualifications in order to move into the teaching capacity. One final word is that our students need to have a burning desire to learn. We need to get back to where education was everything in a home, pushing, and to encourage the parents to take that on, to say children may not want to go to school for whatever reason, but partnership, as Ms. Tanya stated, partnership is key to make this work. We can't do it alone, but in our schools, we are going to ensure with routines and consistency and the professionalism of our teachers and staff with them that we're going to make this work.
Ms. Monty.
I'm just touching on the uniform aspect for the Cayman Islands Further Education Center. We pride ourselves on our collaborative approach, and this is a good opportunity for the center to partner with their students who are young adults to look at the uniform, get their input, get their ideas. So certainly thank the caller for pointing that out, and certainly work can commence on that. And the last thing from me with regards to persons who've retired, certainly there's one retiree who told me that she's busier than when she used to go to work 9 to 5. So I am aware that they do have their own interests, but I am encouraging and appealing to our persons, whether it's retired educators or other persons who have a love for children. If you have some time, you only need to contact the school. The principal will, entertain and discuss how you can assist. And certainly there are many, many ways that our retirees can help. So I'm just saying, make contact.
Great. Now we have a late email that came in, and one of the comments was that excellent advice to parents for involvement with the school from Ms. Monteith. Person also points out that there should be mandatory attendance of a parent or representative at PTA and reporting sessions. They also wanted to know how many psychologists and school counselors will there be on each school compound, and how soon can staff for these specific areas be added to meet the ratio of student need and make up for so many students who have not had their services because they were children who were in more dire need of the services as well. And then I think another comment was the regret that staff at the schools have not been required to dress appropriately. And, of course, the Minister, you responded to that and saying that that is coming as well. So, Minister, with the final word, if you can respond to some of those comments that were made, or if someone else in your team needs to comment on it. We're going a little bit over time, but it's worth it. It's important.
Tama would probably be in the best position to talk about the psychologist, because that falls under yes, although we set the decentralization policy. But I wanted to add, and I didn't do it at the conference, so you get the first opportunity for this breaking news, OC. This year, one of the things that we wanted to add was the introduction of a nursery program for the bandwidth of age 3 to 4. And because the BRAC was a smaller demographics where the numbers wouldn't be that big, so the expense layout would not be as much, we could make some changes. And one of those changes were that we moved the year 3 from the Creek School to the Spot Bay Primary School, so that we didn't have to build the extra classrooms. And so we went about register them, and last count I got was 9-10 new students that would do. And one of the things that will do is we have a government daycare on the BRAC, but it was on a waiting list thing. So basically we've extracted those 10 students, which will make space for more. But what it will do for the first time since when Scott was out of high school, it opened up the catchment. So you don't have to be in Spot Bay or Weston and go through that east or west of the Tammany syndrome that we suffer from sometimes. But anywhere in Kimmerat, once you're between age 3, you also don't have to be age 3 at 1st of September. Once you're age 3, anytime it's a rolling thing, you can come into this new program. And we're making every attempt to make it world-class so that children would want to be there. And quickly, the reason why we've piloted it there is because we want to bring it in Cayman next year if it's successful. But what we found, OC, was that some persons, either through their demographics or whatever, were not able to send their children to proper preschool. So when we got them in high school, not all of them could count to the 100 or send the ABCs. If we're going to start, the younger we start, the better it is. So you heard it first on OC for the record that there's a new pilot program starting at Creek School. And Tama and I and anyone else around the table will be there to witness this groundbreaking thing in education on the BRAP.
Okay. And very quickly, the question in relation to school psychologists.
Okay, so presently all large schools will have their resident counselor. For the smaller schools, a minimum of 3 or 2 days. So they're still shared. In terms of the psychologists, they've been assigned into learning hubs with 2 schools. So therefore, they're there to respond in a timely manner to the requests. All schools across the all primary schools have their own special education needs coordinator this year, with East End coming on having their own, and North and Edna Moyle as well. So we have a process, but the response time, given the decentralization of the special support services, will increase that capacity.
Okay, thank you very much. Minister, I want to thank you and your team for being here this morning, as well, and I'm sure that it is based on the comments that we have received, phone calls, as well as other electronic means. Shows the interest, the level of interest that we have. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.